Hi and welcome to the Cult TV Sofa. This is a reaction video of the first episode of Season 2 of Babylon 5 called Points of Departure. At the end of last season we saw Garibaldi investigating the murder of a lurker from down below. Sinclair got engaged to his on and off again girlfriend Catherine. We saw Mr. Morden return to ask Londo if he could help with a Narn issue the Centauri were having. This help resulted in the destruction of a whole Narn base and 10,000 troops. Garibaldi discovered that there was a plot to kill the Earth President, but before he could raise the alarm he was shot in the back by his second-in-command. The President was killed and the new President, President Clark, was sworn in. At the end, Garibaldi was left in a critical condition and Delenn had entered some kind of chrysalis with the intention of changing into something else. So let's see what happens in this episode. I'm going to put any relevant trivia that I find over here, and at the end of the reaction I'll be discussing what happened and my thoughts about it all. And I'm going to start it in 3, 2, 1. The Agamemnon.
Initiate jump into hyperspace.
Jump point I.
So the Agamemnon's an Earth Alliance ship, and it's big enough to create its own jump gates.
It's General Haig, Joint Chiefs of Staff.
In the last few days, a Minbari warship has been seen in Earth-controlled space.
The war's been over for more than 10 years.
We have a renegade warship on our hands.
The Trigati. The last time I made personal contact with a Minbari warship, I sent it straight to hell.
I don't think anybody had beaten a Minbari warship.
I need you to do one other job.
This is a week
It is now
after.
8 days since the death of Earth Alliance President Luis Santiago, and 5 days since Commander Sinclair was recalled to Earth without explanation.
God, imagine being left with all that going on. That's a lot of pressure on her.
Your commanding officer, Commander Sinclair, will not be returning to Babylon 5.
So we no longer have Commander Sinclair. And obviously we have Bruce, I can never know perhaps his surname, Boxleitner, doing the voiceover. So obviously we know he's going to be a main part.
Stations. The year is 2259.
And there he is. So we've got Warren Keffer. He's a new person.
Reassigning him where?
To the Minbari homeworld. He'll be functioning as the first Earth ambassador allowed permanent residence there.
That's the first one. We're obviously going to find out more as the show goes on. But actually, even just now, Sinclair kind of makes sense to be the first ambassador to the Minbari, or sorry, the first ambassador to be allowed stationed on the Minbari planet, homeworld, because he has probably, hands down, had the most interaction with Minbari, being the commander of Babylon 5. He's had a good relationship with Delenn. He's done a lot of diplomacy on Babylon 5. So I would have thought he probably is the right person for the job. If he wanted to do it. I mean, the way it's all been worded, he's been reassigned, he's been assigned, the president assigned him, so we don't know whether he had a say in it, but yeah, it does make sense.
Sheridan, John Sheridan?
That's right, I believe you know him.
Yes, sir. I served under him at the transfer point off Io. He's a good man and a fine officer, but it's bound to be a controversial choice.
That's not good. He's a good officer, but so at least they've served together, so they know each other.
So, she's done it, hasn't she? She's in there.
So he's a Grey Council member.
Lieutenant Commander, about the new captain.
Yes, I would like a full honor guard present when his ship docks. We've barely got enough time to...
He's here.
What?
Oh dear, that's not good. Surely they would have found out though as he was approaching.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Just grab some random security officer.
I assume you'd like to begin with a quick tour of the facilities?
Yes, absolutely.
God, imagine turning up to this huge space station knowing that you're now in charge of it. He hasn't had much time since he found out he was being assigned and then actually arriving there. But I mean, one of the first things I would be doing is looking up the personnel records of the senior staff. to see who I'm going to be working with or who's going to be working for me. Station schematics, getting information about it all. That's probably the bare minimum he'd have time to do those two things. But then actually arriving and seeing the scope of the whole place and all the people there, knowing you're in charge of it all, that's this weird and huge thing.
How was your flight?
Fine. They actually had fresh oranges on the transport.
That's a big thing, yeah.
What's our status?
Chief of Security's in critical condition in MedLab. He thinks there's a conspiracy concerning the president's death. After 2 years, we still don't know what Ambassador Kosh looks like inside his encounter suit. And Ambassador Delenn is in a cocoon.
Welcome to the station. So matter of fact about it all.
Show me this place.
Think I've seen a Minbari with a beard.
Green sector is for diplomatic personnel and is closed to unauthorized personnel.
Why would that be the first thing you tell someone about? The bit that's off limits to everyone is probably, should be kept a bit hush hush. The first thing they do is say, "Yeah, here's where all the ambassadors are, but you can't go there." So you start off with, "This is the Zocalo, and this is all where the shops are, the rooms are to rent, or I don't know, they have hotels as such. They don't have more rooms and quarters to rent. All the public areas. That's a bit weird. It's obviously what he wanted, and it's where he's going, so that's why they started with it first.
Certainly a lot bigger than what I'm used to.
Executive suites and command quarters all have showers with real live honest-to-God water. The rest get vibe showers.
Okay. It's like Sonic showers in Star Trek.
Oh, you've never been worried about being diplomatic before. Don't disappoint me by starting now.
He does know her. Plus, you would want that in a second of command. You want someone who's going to be honest with you and, I was about to say question your decisions, but that's not quite true. You don't want someone who's going to question them, but certainly, I don't know how to put it now since it started. Raise alternatives, but when appropriate. But you also want someone who's going to follow out your orders when you've made them. So it is a balance. And I think if Oliver's got that balance, she is very straight and to the point with most things, but she does follow orders, but she does question when needed. So yeah, she's quite good at that.
While commanding the Agamemnon, I worked with many of the non-aligned worlds, Centauri, Narns, even a few Minbari.
Yeah, the way he worded that.
I hear they still call you Starkiller.
Oh, consider the Minbari helped, or specifically specified. Try saying that 5 times. Sinclair for the role, for him suddenly to be reassigned, and for Starkiller, somebody who destroyed a Minbari ship in the war, now in charge. That's not going to go down too well. And I'd be surprised legally if it be allowed. As far as, I mean, if I remember rightly, the Minbari helped or put a lot of money into building the station. Again, there's bound to be in contracts and stuff that say that they could have a choice or decision in who runs the station. And it sounds like that's how Sinclair got the job. But now it looks like the president has just said he's in charge and that's it. Although we might see repercussions for that. But yeah, that's obviously a rocky road to start off with.
I'll just grab a fast shower, we'll head up to command and control, and I'll give them my good luck speech. It's sort of my good luck charm.
Kalain! We do not harm our own kind, Kalain. We never have.
Like Wolverine. It's got the things coming out.
You know they have chosen Sheridan the Starkiller to lead this place. It is an obscenity.
We protested. They ignored us.
So they did protest.
But the Grey Council never tells anyone the whole truth.
True. Even to themselves. So Garibaldi's in a coma.
Managed to stabilize his condition. Dropped in as many regen packs we think his body can handle.
Dropped in as many regen packs that his body could handle. So that sounds like some kind of booster medication, because it's going into his body to help heal, I suppose, accelerate healing, accelerate fighting off infections and things. So it's a booster to his immune system and his body's healing ability. So that's quite cool tech. Yeah, we don't hear much about their medical abilities in the future. Just the normal Earth medical abilities. So that's quite interesting.
Well, the human body is an amazing thing. It can cure itself, or it can simply decide one day that the world is too painful to deal with and won't cooperate no matter how hard you try to heal it.
What about that machine from the end of last season, the Quality of Mercy episode? So you can transfer some of your life force to someone else.
You'll be even better when you begin to understand what you do not understand.
I don't understand.
I'm sorry to bother you, sir, but I've got security on the link. They've got him in Bari demanding to speak to you.
We'll get back to this later. There's plenty of time for speeches.
It was quite a long speech. You just need to keep it a bit more peppy, I think.
You said he was second in command of a Minbari cruiser. Which one?
I don't see what that has to do with this.
I think everything to do with it.
What's the Trugati?
It is not something we like to talk about. When our ships were ordered to surrender, one of our war leaders, Sinoval, took his own life rather than obey. They believe that they have been betrayed by their own world, and yours.
That's weird how the cruise is huge. How a cruiser could stay lost for 12 years. Plus it's going to need maintenance, repairs, resupplying. I would have thought. So just staying, away for that long, well, it's impressive, and if not a little unbelievable, but maybe they weren't the only ones who felt that way. I mean, he did say that they had friends on the Grey Council, so maybe they did have support. But to do what? What have they been doing, or what are they going to do?
So how does someone in the Ministry of Culture know a high-ranking member of the warrior caste?
Unlike your predecessor, my government was not consulted on your appointment.
The president feels the Minbari had too much influence over an Earth outpost. Times change.
That was really interesting, because that showed a difference between him and Sinclair. Sinclair would have been a bit more diplomatic and tried to, obviously it wouldn't have been an issue if Sinclair had been there, but if it had arisen, he'd been more diplomatic about it all. Whereas he's a warrior, he's a captain of a battle cruiser, and he was very defensive, very aggressive from the start. So yeah, it's interesting to see the different styles of command.
Well, he's Grey Council. He's got to be.
I didn't think anyone knew about the Grey Council.
How did you take her out?
Mining the asteroid field between Jupiter and Mars. A fusion bomb doesn't have to lock onto anything if it's close enough.
Boom.
They took out the Black Star and 3 of their heavy cruisers before they could escape.
Plus 3 heavy cruisers.
Get up.
Linnea needs to become more aware. That's 2 people who've stuck in behind him.
Put the gun down, we won't hurt you.
So he's not like a zealot doing everything he can at whatever cost. He does value his life.
You are the new commanding officer?
Captain John Sheridan, Earth Force.
Ambassador Delenn is indisposed at the moment. Perhaps you would come back later.
A high-ranking member of the Minbari warrior caste who no one has seen in nearly 12 years suddenly appears.
I was about to say, wonder why he's doing this interrogation. But I suppose the seriousness of the situation does kind of warrant it, especially considering Garibaldi is in a coma, so it would be left to like the second in command to do it. I can see, yeah, he might want to do this one, and it does kind of make sense. So,
Captain, I apologize if I was rude earlier.
It wasn't rude. It was right the way to handle it.
The reason you were sent here the relocation of Commander Sinclair, and the reason we surrendered at the Battle of the Line.
That's pretty big stuff all of a sudden.
We should bring one of them aboard for questioning.
Very well, Delenn. Choose. But quickly. We are fast running out of candidates.
A horrible way to put it. So that's Sinclair.
Over the last 2,000 years, there have been fewer Minbari born into each generation. And those who are born do not seem equal to those who came before.
How do you measure that?
At the Battle of the Line, we discovered where our souls were going. They were going to you.
How can they measure where souls are?
So you stopped the war in order to avoid harming your own souls?
Minbari don't kill Minbari.
So we could not tell our generals the reason for the surrender.
Captain, we've got something major coming through the jump gate.
The Trigari?
Her gun ports are open and targeting systems are operational.
So in the past, they've had the Minbari ships have approached with gun ports open. That's a greeting. But they said that their targeted systems were active. That's different. That means they're coming in for an attack. I was going to say Linnea is very different. He's a lot more confident and forthright than he has been last season. He was quite sort of timid and naive and quiet. It's only been 8 days since we last saw him, but he seems to have had a bit of a change. Maybe the knowledge that he's now been given has changed his perspective on things, but you can definitely see the difference.
Activate defense grid. All squadrons on standby, but I don't want any actions that might be considered provocative.
Scrambling fighters.
I don't want any actions that can be provocative. Scrambling fighters. Poison?
Captain, she's launching fighters.
Zeta Wing, prepare to launch.
Really upped the ante for the first episode, haven't they? All the changes, action scenes.
Any attack on this station will be considered an act of war.
It's not an act of war though, because they know it's operating independently.
Kalain is dead. They say it looks like suicide.
That's what I was afraid of. They want it to look like we are provoking them into war. All fighters, intercept enemy craft and engage.
To be fair, they have. That is a provocative act. That the Minbari coming in and like that and launching fighters, gun ports open, locking on targets. That's very provocative.
We shouldn't be able to track them at all.
They're making it easy.
All fighters hold position.
Sir, what are you doing? If they hold position, they're perfect targets.
Confirm the order.
See, like I said earlier, she did question, and then when he reiterated it, she followed the order. Don't know if I was one of the fighters. Can you imagine being told to you're being launched to defend the station because you've got incoming fighters you assume to attack you, and you're told to stop, don't fire, don't do anything, and all these ships coming towards you? That's a tough thing to be asked to do and a tough thing to do. I don't know if I could do that. Your instinct would be to fire to defend yourself. Shows they're good fighter pilots, I suppose.
Continue to hold.
What the hell?
They wanted them to shoot first. But even so, that's such a hard thing.
They're looping back, heading for the Trigati.
Exactly.
But how did you know they...
We've got something coming through the jump gate.
So he might be a captain of a warship, but he's a good strategist.
I knew the Minbari government had sent another cruiser to look for the Trigati. They have been in exile for 12 years. They can't go home. They can't surrender without being dishonored, and they can't fight without a war. So by forcing us to attack, they become martyrs.
But the captain committed suicide. I don't think we know what the Minbari think of suicide, but from what we know of what they think of death and honor, that would go against all their beliefs. And I would think that captain, by committing suicide, would believe he will have an awful afterlife, basically. So yeah, it's a big thing for him to have done, because he tried to do it for the sake of his crew, I'm assuming, so his crew can die in honour. But it's also a bit, I don't know, unbelievable in some ways. Whoa!
Trigati's engines have been hit, unable to make jump. We're picking up a change in the Trigati's fusion reactors. They're moving towards critical.
It's committing suicide, all of them. And all the smaller ships, the fighters, moved in closer to get caught in the blast.
The crew of the Trigati were heroes to many of our people. Their death will be mourned, and your name will be remembered.
Well, he didn't really do anything. It wasn't his fault this time. Surely the debris from that ship exploding is going to be a major hazard to the station and other ships.
This whole mess with the Trigati might not have happened if I hadn't been here.
You can't be held responsible for other people's actions.
They say it will take both of our races to stop the darkness. I hope they are right. Because if we are wrong, no one will survive our mistake.
That's an issue.
Good night to Len.
Behind you, Linnea.
So, what does everybody think of our new captain?
Well, I think he's going to be okay. Susan?
I agree.
She has to be careful answering that question. I don't know what rank Keffer is. He's a fighter pilot, maybe in charge of the wings, so he's probably senior. But he probably must be senior to be sat with them, because most senior staff wouldn't sit with lower ranks for this reason I'm about to say. Because if she said, oh, I don't like the captain, or said negative things about him, that's demoralising to the ranks. It must be really hard for her to have honest conversations with people, because she has to be really careful about what she says at all times, because what she says impacts people. So yeah, tricky.
Well, the last time I saw him, he said something about having a half hour to give some good luck speech.
Oh, no. Of all the times he could have picked.
Will light us down in honor or dishonor to the last generation.
You tell me there's no one there.
5 minutes to spare.
He did say he has to give it 24 hours of arrival. He's got his orange. You can't tell me that the command centre wouldn't be fully manned 24 hours a day at best. It's possible they might have a night shift, but there would still be people there. But I don't think they would have a night shift. Well, obviously they have a night shift, but I don't think it would be less people on the night shift, because in space there isn't really a night time as such. There'll be ships coming in and out all the time. It'll be constantly busy. There's always stuff going on. So that would be fully manned all the time. It would never be empty like that. That's unbelievable. That was a really good episode, really good start to the season. It really shook things up a bit. We saw a bit of a battle. We saw, like I said earlier, we saw a different style. You could see the difference between him and Sinclair. So that was interesting. Linnea, let's say, was different. Didn't see Londo. Shakar is off station at the moment, but we didn't really see anyone else. So yeah, it was a really good start. So just to talk very briefly about Michael O'Hare, who played Commander Sinclair. I'm pretty sure probably most of you know, but for those who don't, he had to leave after the first season because he wasn't very well. Basically, he had schizophrenia. Someone very close to me, once very close to me, had schizophrenia. so I'm aware that it can be difficult. It can also be controlled with medication, depending on severity, but it can be a very difficult illness. And apparently he was behaving erratically on set, and it was causing lots of problems. So he spoke to J. Michael Straczynski. Well, they had a deep talk about it, and apparently he offered to delay filming for a few months, so Michael could go and get treatment and help. But he said he didn't want to do that because it would affect the rest of the crew, and he didn't want to do that to everyone else, which is a big thing for him to have done. So that's why he left the series, but he didn't want it known that's why he was leaving until after he died. And J. Michael Straczynski agreed to that, and I think he died in 2012, and there was like a Comic-Con kind of thing where J. Michael Straczynski told everyone what happened. Michael Head did want it known after he died. It's in the hope, so that fans could understand and that it would raise awareness of the illness. So that's why he did it. So yeah, it's very sad. I mean, you don't see any of it in the show. Obviously, you wouldn't, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so it's very sad. I know we are going to see him again, which is good. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. Yeah, so let me know what you thought about this episode, the opening episode of season 2, in the comments below, and she'll see you for the next one. Be seeing you.